We'll see if my internet works. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. From Everett, Massachusetts, this is the Grand Central Sports Hub. My neighbor, Dan. How are you?
Here on time, just ready to get going here and keep our.
Just so you know, while we were fixing my headset problems, you now sound like you're on the surface of the moon. That we've had that problem with.
Fine. I think it's your fucking problem.
Probably.
No, he sounds like he's running a NASA mission right now, or that he's on the radio calling in from a war zone in Kabul, as they do.
I think Dan sounds fine. I think Mush sounds like he's got a little bit of an echo.
Good evening, Mr. Soriano, as well. How are you across the country now? Do you feel outnumbered?
I don't. And congratulations to you. It's tax day, so I'm sure you're going to get a lot of your relatives back.
It is not.
Tax season is over.
As you know, I would know. It is not tax day. It was extended a month again this year.
Sure, a lot of your people are not busy anymore.
Tax day has been moved once again. The goalposts were moved for tax day, and it is now next month.
Much like the rest of your development, you're a little bit delayed.
Thank you. So the delay, speaking of delayed, the show did not kick off on time because you know who had technical issues, and by you know who, that is me. And I just did an update to my laptop. Everything was fine. I was listening to the Rangers game 5 minutes before the show. I plug in my headset and nothing. So here I am like an idiot, fumbling around. I don't know what I'm doing. And then Mr. Soriano Googles, what do you do? Audio driver. Sure enough, it was the audio driver. It took 2 seconds to fix. So without you, we wouldn't have the show tonight, pretty much. Right?
What can I say?
So appreciate your tech wizardry as we move ahead here. So anyway, the Rangers are up on the Devils 4-0. And Artemi Panarin has 2 goals tonight. So I'm in a good mood. I don't know about you.
He does.
Now, I didn't have a specific item for this evening, but I do think we need to talk about the New York baseball teams.
Oh, I'd love to.
I do think we need to discuss the problem that is New York baseball today. Dan, how do you feel right now?
Well, look, we're 13 games into the season, right? Counting today's, early action, and this evening. Is it too early to panic? I don't know, but the Yankees are traditionally not necessarily slow starters. But right now there is one. There's one starter on this team that's hitting over 300 in the early offing here, and that would be Mr. Aaron Judge, who also leads the team with 4 home runs. And he also missed 4 games of those aforementioned 13. So next behind that is DJ LeMahieu, who's hitting 295, and that's almost the number of double plays that he's hit into so far this season. So I'm not saying
295 for DJ is like someone hitting 150, right?
Right, and I mean there are 3 glaring issues on this team. The first being lack of pitching depth, the second being first base, and the third being their, the catcher that can't seem to avoid the shit that's talked about him and keeps, compounding his own criticisms. The Gary Sanchez, has had this reputation for being lazy. He got caught between first and second base in a rally-killing pass ball 2 nights ago, which was almost hard to believe it happened. But the Yankees have lost. They lost 2 of 3 to Tampa. They lost 2 of 3 to Toronto in Dunedin, in a minor league ballpark in Florida. And like we've covered on
We've
this
been
show,
there. We've been there.
We have. Toronto will have 3 homes this year if they're allowed to go back to America's Hat later on this year. When the border reopens. But the biggest issue in this team right now is Jay Bruce and first base. Luke Voigt, pretty obvious. I mean, Jay Bruce is
Who would
hitting the
have
rope.
thought?
Jay Bruce is about to get the Ari Gold get the fuck out treatment on this team. He's batting a robust 118, and last night Aaron Boone had him in the 6th spot. So you had a guy that was hitting 180. What?
He's fucking atrocious. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Luke Voigt is hurt. The other travesty here is that you have a guy named Chris Gittens who is on the taxi squad right now and is at the alternate site who tore it up this spring. And I don't think it's too early to acknowledge that the Jay Bruce experiment, which I will say I was almost looking forward to, thinking that there may be something there, maybe some sort of career renaissance a la Luke Voigt. I'm not going to put him in the same category as DJ LeMahieu, but maybe like an Edwin Encarnacion, from a couple of years ago on their ALCS run that ended against the trash can banging Astros. He's got to go. I mean, there's just no way around it. And then if you work your way back to, I mean, all the pitchers not named Garrett Cole currently have an ERA over 6. Corey Kluber doesn't even stay in the game long enough to be judged as whether or not he belongs as a number 2 starter on this team. They don't have a 5th starter right now, and Michael King is
they don't have a 5th starter, Dan. They don't have a number 2 starter, a number 3 starter, or a number 4 starter.
Well, I mean Montgomery and Taillon. I do think that Taillon is going to be, can be, stretched out a little bit, but beyond Cole right now, Corey Kluber is a question mark, and those questions have yet to be answered after 3 starts. So I don't know what
question marks.
Yeah. And then, the whole concept behind the Yankees was that you could get away with questionable pitching because you'd have this world-beating offense. Right. Mm-hmm. And that, you wouldn't have to worry about that when you've got 3, 4, 5, 6 hitters in the lineup that can hit home runs in any minute. And so far, 12, 13 games into the season, that has not materialized. So they come home this weekend, big, you'd hate to say that a series in April is a big series, but this is a big show me something for fuck's sake series against the Devil or whatever, the Rays. And, if they lose 3 or 4, the question marks are really going to start flying. So I don't know. I mean, you really need to, if you look up and down, I mean, Urshela is batting 262. I mean, he seems to be the only guy in the lineup that actually applies himself right now. And beyond that, so, and then Higashioka hits a home run the other day. I think he went 3 for 4 and then gets rewarded by riding the pine the next day. By Aaron Boone and gets replaced by the starter Gary Sanchez, who then runs into a double play on a fucking fastball. So, what do you expect? I don't really know.
I was saying, you talk about Aaron Boone making a questionable personnel call. Outside of, what was it now, 3 years ago? Was it a Spurs season that they made the ALCS?
Hmm?
He's not impressive. He really isn't. As
poor Ryan.
As bad as Girardi was, and he's proving how bad he is in Philadelphia, I still don't think Aaron Boone was the right fit for that team. And now that, Jason, what the hell are you drinking over there?
It's a sour from I don't know where. I bought it at Total Wine the other night.
It's pink.
It's not pink. It's
all right.
It's So
it's
continue,
pink.
Mr. Soriano.
Yeah, it's pink. So, so he's a shitty manager. I mean, you got to figure that he has got to be on the hot seat. Granted,
he's not.
The Yankees, he should be.
He should. He's not because he's the puppet manager. He's the computer and the analytics are making the lineup. He doesn't make the lineup. He doesn't.
Carlos Beltran is just sitting out there.
And that's what they want. The Yankees leadership wants this kind of a manager now. And it doesn't work.
I don't understand how you can start a guy like Jay Bruce, who is a fine fielder, whatever, in the 6th spot, period. I mean, when you have – where's Mike Ford?
Right.
I mean, did they lose him? Did they leave him back in Tampa? Like, what the fuck?
He missed the
Jay
bus.
Bruce-
Jay Bruce is an okay fielder, and if the Yankees
No,
didn't
he's
have a
not
great-
at first. He's not.
But he's
No.
tall. I mean,
He's an okay outfielder,
Right.
right,
he's
but you have an
playing
outfielder
unnatural-
playing first base.
Yeah.
but
He's playing an unnatural position.
Right, he's a dead pull hitter, and he's a lefty. So yeah, at Yankee Stadium, if you didn't have 75 other guys that could play DH, he'd be perfect.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The Yankees lineup is so limited because the guys who can't play in the field. Why don't we just, Dan, while Voit is out, the easy solution here is you shift DJ to first and you get a competent infielder, to play. You put Odor in the infield and then you do the lineup like that.
So look, I mean, Odor is a no risk, no risk, high reward type move, right? And so far he's been hitting the ball and he can play second base. I mean, if you move DJ over, or you call up Mike Ford, or you call up Gittin, it's not too early to start playing around with that. But Jay Bruce just needs to go. Like, you can't have a guy in this lineup that's not hitting. I mean, if you have hitters that are expected to produce that are not hitting, and then you have Jay Bruce in the 6-hole, you have a problem because you're not going to turn over the lineup.
I agree, but Jay Bruce is not why the Yankees are struggling. The reason why the Yankees are struggling is the other guys aren't hitting, right? If the rest of the lineup is hitting consistently, Jay Bruce is a non-story. You just eat it, right? But they're not. And
not in the 6-hole though. I mean, and then
right? No. I agree. But if the rest of the lineup is doing what they should be doing, Jay Bruce is really not a story. And if your starting pitching wasn't Garrett Cole and a bunch of guys rehabbing from getting their arms cut open, it also wouldn't be an issue, right? Like Brian Cashman went bargain basement hunting, and everyone's like, "Oh, Tyone's got such an upside; he's going to be great." We don't know because it's a question mark. Corey Kluber, he was great 3 years ago. He just had an injury. Great, right?
He had a serious injury.
Right.
So,
Domingo Germán loses a season from beating his girlfriend. He hasn't pitched baseball in over a year, right?
Severino's going to come back at some point too, and God only knows what happens there.
But you can't count on that because he's in a rehab year. You can't.
Well, your owners don't have much money to spend, and when you're poverty stricken like that, you got to put like a nothing.
And this is where you miss George, because in a year now where the Mets have an owner who loves attention, right? George would be fighting. Uncle Steve and George would be fighting for the back page every day. It would have been electric, right?
Steve Cohen just got the best Hanukkah gift he could ever get this week when Bernie Madoff passed away.
You kidding me? He's going to have his funeral during the 7th inning stretch.
But I'll say this, and
out there.
I don't want to be in a bad mood all night because the Rangers are winning and there's other things to be happy about. But what's the difference between the Yankees at this point? Yankees, Blue Jays, and Tampa. You have one ace on each team and a bunch of 2 through 5 who's just a barrel of question marks. And the teams, and all three of those teams have a pretty good on paper lineup. What's the difference at this point?
Bullpen. The Yankees vaulted bullpen. You know how many pitches Chad Green threw yesterday?
Yeah.
4. And you know how many of them stayed in the park? 3. So
well,
and
the one thing
that was his second home. It was a walk-off. Second
I get
it. Of the game.
The one thing is the bullpen has been good. But
Tampa, is a crapshoot to begin with. I mean, they have starters. They have this. They could bring in the hot dog guy to pitch an inning or two if they want. If Cash so chooses to do that. I mean, the Yankees are supposed to have this, established middle relief, and one of their best relievers is now Boston giving up fucking winning streaks. So it's like I don't know what and I guess Chapman's back now, and I don't know, but Toronto also has a bunch of no-name fucking middle relievers. And the thing about the last 2 games, I think the last game against Tampa and the last game against Toronto was that they lost to spot starters, right? Guys that were not supposed to, who were fucking walk-ons practically, and the Yankees just can't scratch their fucking run together. I mean, what was it? The game yesterday was a day game. It was a night. Was it yesterday? They scored a run in the first inning for like the first time this season. Like, give me a fucking break. You know, like at some point the bottle's got to pop. You know, the cork has to pop off this bottle. But is it going to be too late when that happens? Do I think the Red Sox are going to keep up this pace? No. But I mean, the fact of the matter, JD Martinez and Alex Verdugo right now are playing above their fucking weight, and they're probably both playing to get traded before June, right? So I mean, right now the Boston Verdugos and Martinez are 9-4, and they lost a tough game thanks to Adam Ottavino today, which they came back. They were down 3-0. They came back in the 8th inning, and then Ottavino gave up the game. But I don't think the Red Sox can sustain that pace of that lineup, and it's going to come down to whether or not the Yankees. I mean, look, the Yankees are going to beat up on the Orioles, right? They're going to probably beat up on the Red Sox, if they can. But if they lose these games to no-name starters from Toronto and Tampa, they're going to have a big problem, especially with no bats.
Win or lose, they're boring as hell to watch. There's not a fun team to watch. It really is a atrociously boring brand of baseball that I am not enjoying whatsoever, and it's ongoing now for the last about 3 years.
Right. So, I mean, the highlight of the season so far was that monster grand slam that Stanton hit a couple weeks or a week ago, and since then, I mean, Aaron Judge had 2 home runs yesterday, and they fucking lost.
Right.
It's not it's like a blip. You're like, oh, here's the guy that just sat out for 4 games. Finally, maybe turning it around, playing in TD Bank, fucking, Zippo's bail bond stadium down in Dunedin, and no one gives a shit because every time they take a lead, the fucking pitching gives it back up.
Right. I feel for you guys. It's got to be really just. It's got to be agony.
Yeah. Wait till you eat Acuna's ass. Right? I mean, it was like this guy that was chanting at Bryce Harper. That he's like, "You're not Acuna. You're not Acuna." It's like, what? I mean, he's got 8 home runs in the season. That's big.
Acuna is like, yeah, but the Braves are the fuck that.
That's a fucking dog.
I need an old priest and a young priest.
The Braves are still like 6-10, so he can hit all the home runs he wants.
So what's more impressive, hitting 8 home runs 13 games into the season, or having 2 no-hitters?
Well, that's been pretty impressive. Almost had a perfecto last night.
On a bullshit call, nonetheless.
Same team?
No.
It was the second one. Oh, okay.
White Sox last night, late.
Hit by pitch with 2 outs to go without a perfecto.
1 out.
1 out to go.
Unbelievable.
And it hit his foot. I mean, it was like that call to Phillies the other day where the guy slid into home and didn't touch the bag. And they're like, safe. And I was like, Leslie Nielsen? Where's Enrico Palazzo? Jesus Christ. And they reviewed it. And they're like, holy shit. It's like you could have seen that shit from the space station and been like, that guy is out.
The umps must really hate Girardi because they call Conforto got hit by a pitch. And you look at the replay. Girardi's like, "Oh yeah, I got to challenge this." And you look at the replay, and the air of the ball going over his cleats makes the laces move. And they're like, "Yeah, take your base." And Girardi's like, "What the fuck?"
He went to his binder and was like, "Wait a minute."
Mad Dog had a good point about baseball replay. It's so bad because the umpires review a play. They don't tell anyone what they're reviewing. And when at the end of it, they're like, safe, out, this, that. They never explain it. They don't announce it. They don't do anything. And that's it. Nobody knows.
Very interesting.
It's terrible.
So, Gary Cohen was saying the other night, God help us. Joe, is that night that Girardi got screwed on the hit by pitch, Joe West was the crew chief. And he said, last week, Joe West was the crew chief in the replay center. So know that, there's
really
like that. Yeah,
we let him do that.
Yeah, apparently those
That's
guys
interesting. I didn't know that.
He said you never hear who it is making those calls.
Oh fuck! Now we're really
you got an asshole like him, or God help it. Well, not Angel Hernandez, but like.
Oh God!
You've got some assholes like that. Oh,
They
I have
shouldn't
no
be
idea
out
what
there.
they're doing. Right.
They shouldn't
Joe
be
West.
in there. No other.
Joe West should have retired. I mean, now he's got $500,000, even though he gets a comeback.
No other league puts the actual on-field officials in the replay center at all.
Especially, yeah. So,
it's a no.
Joe West is like the worst. Plus, if he was the one who was doing the replay against Girardi the week before when they had that bullshit call at home.
Well, what about this? You put another umpire in the replay center who's got to rule against his umpire friend. They're not overturning their buddy's call. That's bullshit. It's terrible.
Well, you're assuming they're all friends.
Well, the umpire union, they're not fucking going to turn each other in on a bad call. So it's just such a bad system. It takes 3 years to review. You don't know what the outcome was. If you're out of the game, you really don't know because it's literally just like, oh, we're done. And then, you move on. So, yeah, it's a fucking disaster since you brought it up. Anyway, Metropolitans, I don't know. What's going on over there? Because it's the
first place by game.
By game.
The only team above 500 in the NL East.
Breaking news. Vitaly Kravtsov has scored his first NHL goal, and it's 5-0 Rangers.
Nice.
Well, it's a garbage time goal.
First goal. That's awesome.
It's not that impressive. They were up 4-0. Let me know when he scores. Let me know.
He'll be in Buffalo. He'll be in Buffalo this summer anyway.
Yeah. Brandon Nimmo, everybody's favorite 4-pitch
sprinter.
Yeah. He's leading the league in OBP and batting average. Jacob deGrom, from 265 pitches at 99 miles per hour or more, that's more than double any other pitcher in the league. The guy is just lights out, and he has a...
Oh, they called it back! I mushed it! They reviewed the goal! I'm sorry!
So, DeGrom is pitching lights out, but of course the Mets are not hitting for him. But they're fun to watch right now. The guys, they're clicking on all cylinders. It's an embarrassment of riches. We have 2 power-hitting first basemen. One's playing in left field. What are you going to do?
What would you like to see? I think your lineup, I mean, there's room for a little improvement. And it's early, but what would you like to see right now if you had to?
Well, I mean, with J.D. Davis hurt, they're developing Luis Guillorme. He's hitting now, and he's a great fielder. Dom Smith's doing well in left field. Honestly, there's not much you can do until Cookie Carrasco is healthy, and then when Thor gets back, you got to hope that he comes back and is pitching like his old self. So you just got to hope everybody stays healthy. The bullpen is really the only weakness, and they had a few bad starts to the season, but other than that, they've been solid.
Yeah, I would patience with the Mets more so than the Yankees, right? Because there's a lot more to feel out there. A sense of optimism as well around the team. It's a different team. It's not the same. It's not the same tired old act the Yankees are for the last 3 years. It's different. It's a different brand of baseball.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to make it exciting if you just signed Lindor to fucking 30 years with the team.
But you can't.
You're going to have to
waste
acclimate. What?
Yeah.
You can't waste these DeGrom games. That's the thing.
No, you can't. But Stroman's pitching amazing. This kid, Taiwan Walker, that they got from Florida, is pitching awesome.
Love him. I wanted him on the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I guess we got him out from under you too. And then what's his name? Peterson. I almost said Scott Peterson.
Oh my God!
This lefty rookie that they got is awesome. He pitched fucking, I don't even know how many about innings last night. So yeah, you can't be. There's going to be guys like Frank the Tank that are fucking pissed off at everything that happens on the field, but you can't be unhappy with what the Mets are doing. They're a fun team to watch right now.
It's just fun to watch Frank the Tank implode every game. Is it not? Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty amusing, honestly.
As long as it doesn't kill him.
Well, other things are going to kill him first.
But even like McCann, the guy throws a freaking ball and it actually has a chance throwing the run around. We haven't had that in a long time.
He's a solid catcher. That was a good pickup. I think it was the safe play. He's going to be solid and stable. He's not a world beater, but you don't need that. You need a guy who's a good catcher for the pitchers, and they'll hit. He'll hit. He's good. So no, I mean, listen, it's early, but early signs of the Bronx not favorable, not at all. Early signs of the Mets to be determined.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's early to talk about it. I mean, it is disconcerting and it's boring as hell. But when the Yankees do shake this off, maybe it'll be a little more entertaining. And I just think everybody expected like a certain start to the season that would proceed through. Nobody really knew what to expect. Right now that we're coming off a real spring training and planning a full season, fans in the stands, and there was a level of excitement. And I think you get kicked in the deck as soon as they come stumbling out of the gate. But, I mean, You keep having to remind yourself that it's been less than 2 weeks, or what is it, 2 weeks today that the season started. And, it feels like an eternity because every game feels like a fucking eternity. But, it's April. I mean, even A-Rod, for all of his fault, was nicknamed Mr. May, and we're not even there yet.
Right.
I just think that people see what they see, and then it's compounded by, those snotty bitches in the New York Post and the Daily News and the back pages are like, look at these dickheads. And you're like, well, yeah, but, we didn't expect them to win the ALCS on, April 15th. And it's not, I think, you're in the first round of 12 and you're still feeling out, the other guy in the ring, and you got to see what's going to happen, right? So I'm not giving up, obviously, on the season, but so far it's like, holy shit. I am giving up on Jay Bruce, though, because that experiment failed, and that's okay, because at some point Luke Voigt will come back, or you just cut bait and, move DJ, like you said, over and let Odor play second base. Odor can still hit the ball, so is he a little kooky? Sure, but who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Or bring Mike Ford back or call him, give him a try. I mean, it'll be interesting to see too. There's a lot of really good prospects on a lot of really good teams. I mean, when those kids start getting called up, and I mean, the Angels have Joe Adele, and like the Orioles have whatever it is, Adley, whatever the fuck his name is, the catcher, how long will it take for these kids on teams that are marginal to come up and, see what they got and either become trade bait or, maybe breathe some life into some of these teams that no one really cares about.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I still think, the comeback player of the year is still going to be Matt Harvey. So
he had a good start, so
I got him on my fantasy teams. Why not?
Yeah. So long season to go, but emotions are real early on, as we always get, and it's not even middle of April.
I think the problem is that it's so bad with the Yankees. Like you said, it's not even fun, right? And all of the bullshit, all of the criticisms that Gary Sanchez dropped 12 pounds, whatever it was. Like he's hitting the ball in spring training, and then he comes out and he doesn't run out, And Michael Kay is the first one on Yes to be like, oh, did he run that out? I don't know. Like, did he run the first?
Good for Kay.
I agree, but then I mean, it's shit like getting picked off between first and second on a pass ball that just does not help your case, and it may that stuff that they teach in like Little League.
The guy, he should have. He needs to change the scenery.
Well,
fucking change it up.
I
mean, Higashioka, is they got rid of Flaherty, not Flaherty. Romine, thank you.
Going back in time there.
Wrong. I'm time traveling, I guess. See what happens, when you're quarantined all this time. But he's in Detroit or wherever he is. And, they got rid of him because Higashioka is reliable, and because they thought that Sanchez was really going to take the bull by the horns, and so far he's not.
Yeah.
So again, Higashioka hit a home run the other day and then gets rewarded by riding the pine. So I don't know. And then you've got guys that are, who was it? Pete Rose, right? Came out yesterday and was like, these fucking guys, they're whatever it is, their legs are, they hurt. They sit the game. Granted, I'll give Judge a pass because it's like, okay, if something hurts and an injury that kept him out for 2 months last season, fine. But like, I mean, at some point you got to play the game.
Pete Rose, eh? All right, I got something for you in a little bit.
God, I love Pete Rose.
I mean, the guy's amazing. The fact he can legally run a betting system, whatever he's doing now, a betting site. What is it exactly?
I don't know. It's like like a bookie.
Yeah, that's the fucking basic way to put it.
Why would you not follow his advice? I would.
I mean, everybody else is doing it now. Why shouldn't Pete Rose? I mean, I want to go to the guy that knows exactly what he's doing. I mean, he was doing it way before it was fucking cool, and he was sitting in the dugout. Well, let's talk about Nanuet and Pearl River this weekend. Big game. I mean, it's so weird seeing football. Like, you'll see it up here now that you're a masshole. Well, maybe not on Friday night if you're not allowed to drive, but, you drive around and, like, seeing high school practices. It's fucking crazy. It's so bizarre. Seeing high school football practices in whatever month this is, April. Look at that.
It's gone. It's a black screen.
Where'd it go?
No?
There
we
is.
go. There's the goat.
Pete has like C cups.
He's got some titties. Is that in Vegas?
That's at the Mandalay Bay.
Where else would it be?
Mush, do you remember we were walking through Caesars and he was sitting outside of the sports memorabilia store? And he had like one of those, like where your grandmother's folding table that she would put at the end of the dining room table for the kids. That basically, like he carried it under his arm from the parking garage and dropped it out there with a folding table. Like I'm signing cards.
Okay. This was 2 or 3 years ago, so he had his own. He had like a Monday through Friday gig at this memorabilia store at Mandalay Bay, and I was out there for a trade show, and I was like, you know what, I'm going over there, and I'm going to go check this out. And sure enough, I asked him to sign at Hit King, and he did. But I guess you could get him to sign a ball that said, "I'm sorry, I bet on baseball," but it was more expensive. And I was like, just write Hit King on it because that's what I want. I want, the guy that, with almost an unachievable record in baseball, right? That's what I was going to say. And then I was like, this is when Rose was on TNT during the postseason too. It was right after that. It was January. And I was like, so what's it like working with A-Rod? I mean, because you get to sit there and bullshit with him for like a minute. And, it wasn't, believe it or not, on a fucking Tuesday in Las Vegas, it wasn't that busy. While the trade show is down at Venetian. And he was like, you know what, I'll be honest with you. That guy knows his shit. And he was like, I've earned so much respect for A-Rod just working with him and talking baseball with him and all that. And I was like, this is awesome. I was like, whatever, like hearing it from a guy who's been, prevented from the Hall of Fame, whether we can argue that another day, but, this is a baseball man right here. And, it's not like he tried to go out and start car washes or went out and like started dating 14-year-olds or anything. He's a baseball guy, and he's from a generation that's different, from back while we were coming up, we were growing up. So it's like you're talking to this guy you saw on TV while you were learning about sports, who's now on TV again and was a great analyst. And I don't know if they even bring him back last year. I don't remember. But that dude loves himself some A-Rod. And I think he was surprised that I was asking about like that aspect of it, because I'm sure there's a bunch of guys that are older than us that go there and talk about, you think you're really old. Like, what's it like being on TV considering MLB has fucking like shunned you, and you had a great response from the fans, and you worked really well with like A-Rod and David Ortiz and whatnot. So anyway, that's my.
They had him, A-Rod,
Frank Thomas.
Frank Thomas and Pedro that year. That was the year the Cubs won the World Series.
Yeah, that was a great.
Right.
That was a great.
That was a great. That was one of the best
That was really
setups they had. They were awesome, and he's fantastic in there. It's like he's like the Jimmy Johnson in the group.
Well, you know what's funny too about A-Rod when you talk about that group? A-Rod in the studio pre-post is okay. He's good. In game, he's atrocious.
Terrible.
He's
Terrible.
absolutely
Yeah.
He has verbal diarrhea.
Oh my God! You leave him in the studio with a couple guys, he's good. He's very good.
Frank Thomas is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Frank Thomas. I mean, the Big Hurt, man. Like, you know, these again. That was like 93, 94. Like, it was his heyday. He was a mega star. Granted, he played in Chicago, but you know, he was like he had a shoe line. You know, that's how big he was. And I mean, he played with guys like Tim Raines and John Kruk, who were real baseball men as well. And you know, he was in the same sort of vein as like Ken Griffey.
Yeah.
You know, and like I don't know at that rate, like who else was in the league at that time that had that kind of wattage? I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like Bo Jackson when he was pretty big.
Oh, God, what an athlete! What a freaking athlete that man was. What do you think? Speaking of athletes now, and if he has a good career, he's going to be up there. Ohtani? It's pretty awesome to see what he did a couple weeks ago, pitching and hitting. You know, throwing 101 miles an hour, hitting a bomb, a home run. But can we do that in this day and age? Is this sustainable? Is it going to hurt his legacy? Is it going to work? I don't know.
I mean, if I may, the first problem he has is he plays in Anaheim, so he plays in the third most popular team in California, maybe the fourth. Mike Trout syndrome, right? And I think his splash last year being sort of derailed by surgery and an injury or whatever 2 years ago, like that novelty kind of wore off, and you know, it's going to be like in Mean Girls, right, or whatever it was, like, stop making fetch happen, or we're clueless. You know, it's like, stop trying to make Ohtani happen, because it's not going to set a precedent. It's like a player manager, right? Like, those years are gone. So, yeah, it's cool. You go out there and burn a guy down, and then you go and hit, and then you hit a home run. I mean, how many home runs has fucking Jacob deGrom hit? Does anyone give a fuck about that? No.
2 in his career, I think, maybe 3.
Right, like it would be the same thing. Like, oh, you know, you're walking, you're flipping, if you were like flipping through the paper, and you're like, oh, pitcher hit a home run yesterday. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you give him you don't hit him on his pitching day. That seems logical to me. Don't let him hit his pitching day. But do you let him play 6 days a week otherwise to hit? Or do you just call it a day and you say enough pitching? You're an everyday hitter. I don't know. I think one more injury and they're gonna feel sorry about this.
Yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing, like with Japanese pitchers and coming to play the American game, because you know a Japanese pitcher can go out and give you 110 pitches and then be called on to like come out of the bullpen the next day, right? They don't approach that anymore the same way here. So I don't know.
They're all shootos. That's all he throws, the shootos. He also didn't he beat an infield fucking hit an infield single the other day too, didn't he? Or he fucking stole a base. It was something really fucking bizarre. Something that a pitcher shouldn't do.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I'm not taking away any highlights of his athleticism or any of that. It's just that, like in American baseball, they don't do that anymore.
No.
I mean, like Corey Kluber hasn't gotten out of the third inning because he's being treated like a baby. And, you know, in the American League, that's just how they're going to have to. And you're in a culture clash, right? And if they want him, you know, if you want him to go out there and throw until his arm falls off, fine. And I think that we can argue whether or not pitchers should be allowed to pitch beyond what their pitch count is. I think if they're rolling, they should be able to do that. It was like, who was it? Barrios. Right, had a fucking no-hitter going in the first week of the season, and all he hit 70 pitches, so they took him out of the game. Like, fuck that shit. You know, or like the Yankees got no-hit a couple of years ago by the Astros or something with 7 pitchers.
Yeah.
7. Like, how many fucking pitchers do you have? You know, if a guy is rolling like that, let him go. I get it. But as far as playing multiple positions, I don't know how that gets sustainable.
Yeah. And we'll see. I think he ends up. I think if I'm predicting, you tell me I got to make a decision how his career goes. I think he turns into an everyday hitter, and then his pitching ends up fading away. That's what I think.
I think it's where the need for the team is, right? And I mean,
well, they need everything because they're terrible, and they always will be.
Which is, again, the great unfortunateness. And this goes back to our talk about the basketball tournament a couple weeks ago. Professional sports, for the most part, are an East Coast and Central Time thing. And, the Dodgers won the World Series last year, and the Lakers, are good and, whatever. But people on the East Coast, the 10:05 rolls around for a start on the West Coast, they don't give a fuck.
Nobody's watching fucking Angels.
Right. They don't even watch them in LA. So, and then you've got San Diego and Oakland. So, I don't know.
I feel so bad for Mike Trout. I don't know if he cares, though.
I don't.
I don't.
I mean, we talked about this with, we talked about this with Josh, the Red Sox fan, a couple weeks ago. It was like, he got paid. He gets to go home. He has his Eagle season tickets. So what is, honestly, there is no – so this is the other thing is, teams, players, individual players, he could be the best player in baseball. There's no burden on him whatsoever to bring a fucking championship to Anaheim.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like Sidney Crosby or Alex Ovechkin or whoever, when he comes into the NHL, they're like, this guy needs to win a Stanley Cup in 5 years or he's a bum. Right? Mike Trout is an outstanding ball player, and people will go to see him in other cities, but there's no pressure on him whatsoever to bring a World Series to Anaheim.
If it was important for Mike Trout to win rings, he'd say, trade me the Dodgers, trade me the Yankees, trade me Boston, or the Mets, or a big market team, or somewhere where he's going to win a ring, and he'd still make his money, but the championship's not as important.
No.
Right.
I think he's good.
But he will still, he's still in all. And the other thing is he grew up out here. He's a Philadelphia product, and he plays on the West Coast. So when he comes back, people are. I mean, I would go to a game to see Mike Trout, sure, and Ohtani and all this other, kind of. I mean, Mike Trout is not a gimmick, right?
Right.
Maybe Ohtani is, but I'd want to see him play. And it was like when I was living in Washington before the Nationals started to pick up steam. You would go to the game or you'd look up who's pitching, in the next homestand. And you'd go to see the out of town pitcher because you could just walk into the stadium for 45 cents.
Yeah,
I will give him this, a guy who could probably break some major records. It's not like home run records. It's not like he was like, okay, send me to Philadelphia because I could hit 6 home runs a night playing in the tiniest ballpark on the planet.
Right.
Basically like Bryce Harper did.
Yeah. So we'll see. Joey, that's a lot of baseball for today.
I mean,
I don't know what else is going on. The breaking news, I do have official breaking news. The game is over, and Igor Shesterkin has back-to-back shutouts.
Against the Devils.
Against the Devils. Back-to-back shutouts for Igor. Fucking phenomenal.
Okay.
Fuck Lindy Ruff. Fuck Lindy Ruff so fucking hard. That motherfucker reviews a goal down 4-0 to take away someone's first nature goal. Fuck you,
There you go.
Piece of shit. And you know what's interesting? Get rid of Lindy Ruff. Bring in Jacques Martin to run the defense, and the Rangers defense hasn't looked this good in 8 years.
True.
Go fucking figure.
It looked pretty good when Buka Boom was there. I mean,
the penalty kills elite this year, and the development of all of the defensemen from Lindgren to Fox to Miller, phenomenal.
Joe Flacco elite.
More guys to come. Who?
So true or false? The Rangers make the playoffs.
No, I don't think so.
True. Oh, you're
They're going to make a good run, but I don't think so.
Fan. If they bench Filipino, they will make the playoffs.
Shut the fuck up. You're out of your mind. What the fuck's wrong with you? God, there's always one player that I like that you fucking just nag me about just to get a reaction out of me.
That's all right.
Just to get a reaction. A 21-year-old center who
can't win a face-off.
Looked phenomenal until he got COVID and then broke his wrist in the same fucking week.
And broke his wrist, and now he sucks.
And now he's taking a while. Do you see what happened to
It was just coffee, Tony. Oh, the coffee made me sucks, Carmelo.
And now
did you see what COVID did to Zibanejad and how long it took Mika to come back and be Mika?
But he's actually coming back. I don't care about fucking.
Oh my God.
He's a loser.
You're out of your mind. You're out of your fucking mind. And now we're going to have more kid defensemen coming up. Zach Jones quit college. It was like, fuck this. I won the NCAA. Here I'm going to the fucking Big Apple.
It's the same thing that Kreider did.
Well, Brendan Smith, his last year of his contract. A seventh defenseman, Brendan Smith, is fine. You could bring him back as the seventh defenseman, no problem. But they got to have some room. Niels Lundqvist is going to be up next year. Zach Jones. Someone's going to Buffalo. One of these guys is going to Buffalo along with fucking Kravtsov. So we'll see what happens.
I wish Jack Eichel goes to the Devils.
You fuck out of your mind. What's wrong with him? He dictates where he goes as well. So
how does he dictate it?
Because he has no movement or whatever.
Does he? I don't know.
Yeah. The same way, even if Nash dictated that he wanted to go to the Rangers, Panarin dictated he wanted to go to the Rangers.
Panarin was a free agent.
Fox dictated he wanted to go to the Rangers. Adam Fox was like, I'm a kid. I have no rights, but I only want to go to the Rangers. And no one else.
Jack Eichel lacks a no trade clause.
He's going to tell them. He's going to fucking dictate it the same way these other guys did. Adam Fox had no right to tell anyone where he wanted to go. And he's like, I'm only playing for the Rangers. It's great. Best thing ever. Oh, yeah. The Masters last week. No good golf this week, Dan, right? Nothing good?
Yeah, I mean, the Heritage is, at, what do you call it? Harbor Links or whatever. I mean, I feel bad for the tournaments, in Houston and at Hilton Head that have to book in the Masters, because you're either, you're missing the field and whatnot. So MLS does start this weekend. So you got another betting opportunity
I'm
there.
not betting this shit.
Well, I mean, you could have bought a TV with the money I told you to make last year, but whatever.
I bet on the shit you told me to bet on last year.
Well, I got I got the proof right here,
And the money went straight to my bookie.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, but anyway, so you got soccer coming back. So what's interesting is that the the New York City Football Club, they play at Yankee Stadium. Now they got to split their time with the Yankee season, obviously with this whacked out, season starting and all that. They got to split their games between Yankee Stadium and Red Bull Arena out in New Jersey. But then again, if the Yankees don't proceed into the playoffs, then that will change. But MLS is back, so you got Harbor Town this weekend, golf. You got Richmond for NASCAR, good flat course race. EPL's back. You can bet Champions League all you want. We're really ramping up to the Kentucky Derby now. Big upset in the Arkansas Derby last weekend. Who was your guy there? So, who were you looking at?
I don't know.
See, that's it. He's at the Glue Factory. That and ham and eggs or whatever. But the Derby field did take a huge hit. Greatest Honor is out of the field now, and there will be another couple of. The race is in effectively. It's May 1st. It's 2 weeks away. So the field should be set after this weekend. You can get your futures in on IRAbets.com for if you want that. But the Derby will be here before you know it, and then we're into Triple Crown season. It'll be interesting. What was it? I don't know what else is going on sports wise, and it's baseball and basketball, and the Knicks are making some noise, but I don't think
they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, 8 teams make the fucking playoffs. So
10. That play-in this year.
No, the play-in. Yikes. I don't know if we covered this 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, but my bets for the Final Four, cashed them both on both games with Baylor in the over and UCLA in the over. So check that down.
I cashed in your bracket challenge.
And yeah, that's right. We did talk about that because you won the bracket with fucking Baylor.
Unbelievable.
Well, everybody picked Gonzaga. And I think it stems not only dudes being dudes. Again, you couldn't pay me to watch Gonzaga play Baylor in January. If they were to play, but the tournament is just something fucking awesome. And you almost you get morose when it's over, but then you're like, whatever, there'll be another one next year, presumably. Right. There's not another fucking pandemic. It was a great. People kind of panned the tournament this year, and they were like, "Well, there were no buzzer beaters, whatever." I was like, "Fuck that." You had a play-in team that went from the first four that went to the final four. First of all, in UCLA, maybe the players weren't as likable as, say, the kids from Loyola Chicago, but you had they broke that bracket. It was fun. You did have some upsets in the early rounds. You had Houston go to the Final Four and one or the other. No matter what, people are cynical in newspapers as it is, and I think the tournament was. First of all, it was expertly conducted by the NCAA. They were able to pull it off, and they had a result where they made it through one game. Yeah, Oregon got fucked by not being able to play their play-in, but they played Iowa in their first game in the second round, and they beat a good Iowa team with the consensus potentially best player in the tournament on that team. So why? I don't understand why people have to feel the need to shit on things when it was really done. Well, and it was done, they didn't necessarily have to do it under the current conditions, and they pulled it off by doing it in 4 arenas around Indianapolis. And for fuck's sake, it was just it was so great to be able to, that first Friday of the tournament when you get home and you've already been watching games and you got a little bit of one-eye buzz going on there, and the next one just starts, you can't beat it. There's nothing like it. So fuck all the haters on that one. And the NCAA does a lot of things wrong. They got this tournament right. And the fact that Baylor won the tournament, it's hard to go undefeated in any sport, as the Patriots found out against the New York Football Super Bowl champion Giants. And Gonzaga ran into the same problem, right? And they cruised in their Final Four game against UCLA, whereas Baylor, was really, they had to squeak through in their game, and or was it the other way around? I don't know, whatever. But the thing was that Baylor wanted it more, and they won, and it was great.
Yeah.
And the anti-mush was in play.
Stan summed it up. Summed it all up right there.
I love that. I mean, I just love the tournament so much, and
it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I didn't go to a big school, and it was one of those schools, where on Saturday you don't go to your own football game, but you watch College Game Day and then turn the fucking Alabama game on, in your dorm room. And, just getting into that sort of hype, and even without the fans and all that, again, the fact that it was there and it wasn't there last year was a dagger. I think it was weird, at the Masters this year with fans coming back. And, I think Dustin Johnson was interviewed and was like, hey, what's it like? You're a Masters champion, but you're only really a Masters champion for 4 months. He's like, fuck that shit. I'm still a fucking Masters champion. My green jacket's still going to hang at Augusta. And I was like, oh, he's also the number 1 fucking player in the world, and he's married to fucking Paul Gretzky. So his life does not suck. And I was like, if you want to really boil it down to that, fine. But, he's always going to be a Masters champion. And, what was it? They said, during the November Masters or whatever, it was 3 of the next 6 majors are going to be Masters, I guess, because now, you've got, the U.S. Open, the British, and then the PGA coming up. Right. And among that, you've got 3 Masters. And I'm telling you, if the Masters were every weekend, I really wouldn't care. I mean, that course, they do what they do. The course is challenging. I don't think on TV. I've never been there. I would, love to obviously go to Augusta one day, but I don't think the TV production does it justice for just how difficult that course is and how rolling the hills are and how big they are and the difficulty of the greens and all that. So,
hey, Dan, I'm just randomly looking up like U.S. because we know the Masters is always in the same place, but the U.S. Open, rotates around. This year it's in Torrey Pines, but next year it is here in Brookline. Look at that.
They don't. Yeah, well, you might be able to go. I'm not sure I'll be able to go at Brookline Country Club, but just kidding. I mean, they wouldn't even let Tom Brady join the place because it was too big of a distraction.
Are you serious?
It's because his name didn't end in a vowel. But that's a joke, by the way. Anyway, yeah, I think everybody wants to. Again, I don't understand why the media needs to consistently shit on all of these great sporting events that have been pulled off in this time. And they're like, oh, it's the lowest rated Masters ever. I'm like, fuck that noise. It was like, you know what? You know why it's so low? Because bars aren't open. Because people aren't going through the airport and the TVs aren't on. That's the only reason that's happening. Because you can bet your ass everybody I know was like tuned in or betting on it or whatever.
Right. Well, and I guarantee you it's not taking into account streaming either.
No, that's true. And now this year, like CBS for whatever reason forced the first two rounds into streaming, so you had to go on to Paramount Plus or whatever it was. I mean, Masters.org is great, and I'm going to plug a friend of mine who does some TV work down there. And every shot tracking that the Masters does is innovative. It's won an Emmy Award. Where you can go on to Masters.org and this year they did it where you could put together your own group to follow. And at any point during the tournament, or at least during the particular round, you can click on a player. Like I was really into Brian Harman this year, right? I thought the lefty from Georgia was going to, make some hay, and he did until he didn't on Sunday. And you could click on every shot the guy took on the fucking golf course. And that's why now, like this Japanese newspaper put a thing out that showed every shot, in a pictogram type thing that Hideki Matsuyama took on the golf course, because that's the kind of tracking they can do now. It's fucking incredible.
I mushed Harman though. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to consistently play that golf course for 4 days. And I mean, if you look at the pin placements on Sunday, the thing was there was the rain delay on Saturday, right? And when Matsuyama came out, it was like he was down 2 shots. Then all of a sudden, he was up 2 shots rather. Then he was up 4 shots. And he was up 6 shots. Yeah. Like when he came back from that rain delay, he was a different player, and it was over at that point. And Zalatoris, these guys like tried to, they gave him a run, and I mean, Zalatakis or whatever, 24-year-old kid, like finishes 1 shot back, like that's awesome. But then, I think Matsuyama took his foot off the gas on Sunday because he could.
Yeah.
And no matter what, people are gonna dudes are gonna watch the Masters. They're gonna watch the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open is on Father's Day weekend. Like it's these numbskulls know what they're doing, right? So, I'm not worried. I just don't understand why people have to shit on all these things. It's so irritating. Especially like Matt, you said, like, if you're streaming it, you're not, not picking it up, whatever. People are watching this stuff.
Yeah, and since when did we care so much about, the ratings are bad, so it means the product's bad? It does not correlate to each other in any sport, right? Ratings good or bad does not necessarily mean the product is good or bad, right? So,
and to be honest, I think that because of like the lack of options while people are home or not working from an office or whatever, like people have been tracking like Jordan Spieth or Lee Westwood like more, and their progression through the early part of the season more than they would have, if things were just sort of normal.
Yeah.
And that's why people were talking up Jordan Spieth because of the, he was there, and then, he was kind of like right there. And then he won the Texas Open, the weekend before the Masters. And it was like, this is his time. He's going to win the jacket again. And he was there on Sunday. He just didn't have enough for Hideki. So what are you going to do? I mean, the kid wins the fucking Masters and, first fucking Masters for the island of Japan. It's it's great. It's a great storyline.
It was a cool shot of his caddy bounced the course afterwards.
I love it. After he stole the flag off the
Did he take the
And then-
flag?
Well, yeah, I mean, he took the flag off the stick, put it back, bowed, and was out of there. And then the next day, he was at Hartsfield, right? Like on the 6:45 flight to Chicago. He's sitting there, like texting on his phone with the green jacket, like slung over the seat next to him.
Yeah, like it was nothing.
Right. Whereas, like, you know, the bro bunch, like Spieth and Ricky Fowler and all those guys, jetted right to Nashville and went to the Predators game on Tuesday or whatever. You know, and they're like, it's like their thing, right? Like the cool young guys. Now they're fucking old, but you know, I think it's a great story. You know, you get the first jab. Now he's going to be recognized on the tour and yada yada yada. So great stuff.
Yeah. All right, so I'm fresh. I don't really have anything else here tonight. I don't know about you. I'm gonna crack open another sour beer, relax, enjoy a back-to-back Ranger shutouts.
You've moved to like the mecca of beer now. In your
I had
location.
a 4-pack of IPAs last night that I downed.
Yeah.
New England IPAs.
You could say what that is, but it certainly looked like a pink Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Not that there's anything wrong with Mike's Hard Lemonade.
I'm gonna
There's nothing.
pull another one of these. Nope, see?
See.
You know, I'm gonna have another.
Another 4 of those.
Yeah,
It's good.
another,
It's very
another
good.
double wood 12.
It's excellent.
No, I don't blame you.
Until I can't remember how to say my name.
Sounds good. Yeah, so glad we figured out my headset problems. My internet held up here at this facility that I'm at for a couple weeks.
I do think we need a quick book review for Mr. Soriano on on the House by former Speaker of the House John Boehner.
Well, so a lot of it is in the subconscious because I listened to the entire book during a very restless night of sleep last night. So I woke up a wet dream.
If you had an
about John
old,
Boehner.
drunk, raspy voice in your ear all night, you'd probably have a restless night too.
Yeah, I woke up to a lot of Boehnerisms like I'm happier than a dog with 2 dicks.
It's like a man. What is it? A man that's not a leader is just a man walking alone.
Man taking a walk. But yeah, it's Diamond Dan and I had this discussion before the book came out that I'm not one for audiobooks. I do love ebooks. Usually, if it's a really good book, I'll buy the hardcover just to have it on my shelf. This is one I'll definitely get the hardcover because although I tend to be a little left of center compared to my good friend there, I am a big fan of the speaker. But if you, the audiobook, I'm going to stalk this man, find bar, and he made the mistake of saying he's in Southwest Florida, so
He's probably my mom's neighbor.
Yeah, I'm figuring the Fort Myers area. I'm gonna just head down there, and he can't be far from any one bar. He smokes, so there's not many places he could be hanging out.
Well, in Florida there is. I mean,
yeah,
but I think he's in Marco or something like that. But it was like pulling up a chair and letting him just sort of, listening to a story of a year, and it doesn't seem so in recent history, right? But it's just not the way it was even 10 years ago, So.
No, he is a, he's a remarkable. I mean, what do you come to power?
Son of a bartender.
Yeah. I mean, shit. Sleeping in one bed with all of his brothers. I shared a bedroom with my brother until I was 6, and that was miserable enough.
11 brothers and sisters there in Cincinnati, Ohio. I mean, I did enjoy the part about, right near where Jay-Z is, taking up recent residence is a large GE aviation plant. And across the street is a diner that's open very, very early in the morning as I passed it sometimes going to the airport very early to travel other places from Boston. But, when he was talking about guys that came in, we're waiting in line on a Saturday morning for them to open the bar, back in the 70s, and they would come in for a shot and a beer and breakfast. He's like, it's totally normal. And I was like, if they're coming off the night shift, God bless them,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about going into work with a, couple of, burners down the gullet, but hey, if that was just the way it was, right? Nowadays, people are like, we can't do that, where it just seemed like normal procedure, right? But like the places around the GE Aviation plant, even like they opened so early, and we're coming off the night shift. Hey, man, have your shot of bourbon or whatever it is.
He said a lot of these guys were, Procter and Gamble factory workers for Arby Soap, and they had, older German wives at home that while they were ironing, wanted to pound a cold light lager.
What's interesting about that too is that like they couldn't go to you could get a beer ball at the bar. You have to go to the packy or go to to the store. Well, now Jason's already been to the Mega Packy. I love it. He moves here, tries to be a townie, and he goes to like a chain store.
Total wine.
To get his alcohol. Like, come on, man. You got to hit the place that smells like, Sully dumped a 12-pack of Budweiser on the floor and your feet stick to it.
You haven't been to Cumbies yet?
No.
Well, I don't think there's one down there. Dunkin', you get Dunkin'. There's probably 5 Dunkins on your 5-minute commute to work.
There's one down the street here. I walk to it.
But I think 2 out of 3 folks on this call or on this pod, whatever, recommend y'all go out and get the audio version of On the House. Listen to it, you'll enjoy it.
Oh, you sold me on it, 100%.
Oh, it's so good. And I mean, in my real life, I've had an opportunity to hang out with this guy and see him for brief stints, and it seems very authentic.
Go to his house parties and shit.
There's a relative. I'll tell you this that on Capitol Hill there's a lot of townhouses, right, row houses that corporations and associations purchase, and most of them have backyards. And right about 5 o'clock every day, they'll open the doors, and every member, in Congress, holds a fundraiser, and you got to, it's part of the game, right? And I'll tell you that during the winter months, while Boehner was speaker, a lot of those houses put tents up in their backyards because John Boehner's a smoker. And if the speaker's coming to your townhouse, it better be fucking covered when he's there, so he can go out back, regale the crowd, have a cigarette or two with his red wine. And I'll tell you this too, there was always an advanced person from his staff that was in a room ready to hand him a glass of wine when he walked in. So, there's a picture of him on the cover of the book, right? And he's not picky. I mean, I don't think he had the luxury of being picky, but I'll tell you this too. The restaurants on the hill all stocked certain kinds of red wine when he was there. And Trattoria Alberto, that he calls out in the book, is a real place. And, it was near where my, Mrs. Diamond and I used to live. You'd walk by that place on a random Tuesday, and there were 2 Suburbans parked out front for a long, long time. So you can bet they went through a lot of fucking Ruffino when the speaker was there. And I think you just get the sense that he's like, he didn't fuck around, right?
Right.
He was there when the Republicans hadn't won the majority in the House for 40, 50 years, right? When Newt became speaker. They lost it, it comes back, whatever, and they just sort of handed it to him and was like, fix this shit. And, for reasons outside of his control, he couldn't.
Yeah. I might give that a download tonight. I'm in the mood now.
Yeah, it just goes to show you what kind of an everyday guy he is, because Ruffino's just a blue-collar wine. It's not an expensive wine. It's a good, everyday wine. The guy likes Merlot. He doesn't like anything pretentious. So yeah, it's a great read. Some good stories in there. I highly recommend it, and I think it's an even better listen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then if he ever does come across the show, we'd love to have him on. Lobbyist to
Yes.
lobbyist, come on.
Yes. Come on, Mr. Speaker.
Oh God. Well, speaking of wine, I might switch to wine. I got some wine on the counter in the kitchen there, and
Okay.
might swap over to that for the rest of
Okay.
tonight.
You won't regret that at all tomorrow morning.
No, I know. Yeah. So book review. That's our first book review ever on the show.
I think it was warranted, considering there aren't a whole lot of bright spots coming out of Washington these days. And I think everyone's still sort of in a lull, and at least for me in my formative years working in that environment, having this, like I said, being able to hear these stories that you sort of cut your teeth around, it was, I enjoyed it. There were times where I was listening to it in the car and actually I laughed out loud. Because especially when he called Tim Hulskamp a terrorist, I was like, "Oh, that shit's funny." But it just goes to show you that this is a guy that there was a real paradigm shift at some point, and you work yourself up the ladder and you got to deal with fucking nonsense, and you're like, at some point you're just like, that's enough, I've had it. Yeah. But why not? He has nothing to lose, and I just don't. They don't cut him like that anymore.
No. We're never gonna see that again. So,
and he refers to the president as Uncle Joe in the book, which is also pretty hilarious.
Jeez.
And that particular story revolves around golf, which is that there are a few underlying themes in the book, golf being one of them. You may remember there was, this was in the height of the debt ceiling discussion. There was a round of golf between John Boehner, John Kasich, who at the time was the governor of Ohio, right, President Obama, and Vice President Biden. And I think Mr. Biden thought he was a little bit outdueled. So when they got to, there are 3 courses at the Joint Base Andrews where Air Force One is housed. I think the vice president hit the range a little early to try to catch up, because John Boehner can shoot, and so can President Obama. And at that time he was playing golf quite frequently, if you recall. But I think the vice president thought he was a little bit out of his league. So they say, like, Boehner tells he rolls up to the driving range. Like, the vice president's like sweat through his shirt, is like sweating all over because he's been on the range for like an hour before the guys even showed up. I mean, those are those stories. Like, you can feel like you're sitting at a bar on the hill listening to this guy just rip through a bottle of wine telling you these stories. It's great stuff.
I played on one of those Andrews courses.
Really?
Yeah, it's a good time. I don't know if I call it played. I mean,
you were there.
Whatever I do out there, but yeah. All right. Anything you're looking forward to this weekend, gentlemen? No, nothing. Great.
Yeah, no, just I'm ready for winter, and I'm ready for spring to actually spring around here. So,
Dan, are we smoking a brisket Saturday?
TBD. Let's see. I gotta figure. Tomorrow's Friday, right? So
yes,
I gotta figure out if we can go find one.
Find a cow.
That's true. You can't slaughter a cow on a Friday night. Well, we'll figure that out. But until then, whatever. There's baseball. There's hockey. And the Rangers play Saturday.
Rangers play the Devils 2 more times.
Great.
4-game set. This 4-game set here. They have back-to-back shutouts. What could possibly go wrong? Games.
Right.
What can possibly go wrong? Anyway, all right. It's been fun. We'll catch up again next week. Sayonara. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, boys.
Bye-bye.
See ya.